All right, so welcome everybody. We have been doing our Applied Mortgage Academy webinars. I've actually had over 150 people in attendance this year, which is awesome. This was a new initiative that we kind of launched in this year. What year are we? 2024. 2025, I want to show you kind of finish off the year here with a market update with some projections. This is always fun to dive into. And really the goal is you don't need to hear all this stuff from me, right? What I've compiled is a lot of data, a lot of graphics, a lot of information from industry experts. And the goal is really, how many of you here, put this in the chat again. We'll keep this interactive. Put it in the Q&A. How many of you, when somebody calls you right off the bat, how many times do you hear people say, oh, I Googled it, or oh, I was on Zillow or realtor.com, or, how often are people checking the internet, right, before they're actually calling you as the expert? Yeah, mostly, most of the time. Yep. Yep. So I think that's the really key piece. And, always one of my goals is as we move into new year, new technology. By the way, I'm not going to sit here and tell you to use social media. Don't worry. But it's just how do we position ourselves as that expert when people are otherwise just turning to Google, right? How do we become their search engine? That's my mission. How do we guide people? How do we become their wizard so that they can still be the hero, but we're guiding them along the way? So I think a really key opportunity right now too is this screen right here. So nearly 40% of home buyers hit pause until after the election. And how many of you are hearing that in your conversations all the time now, right? It's like people just kind of wanted to take a break. And I think everyone's kind of still waiting just to see how everything shakes out once we get the new administration in office in January. But I always think use challenge as an opportunity, right? So use this as a time to reach out to your database. Again, be that calm and guiding force through the storm, the real estate storm that we're in right now. So here's some information that you can use. I don't know about you all, but these are some common questions that I'm getting, right? Where are rates going to go? Or I heard rates are going to blah, right? Whatever the reason is. Will more homes sell this year? What's demand? What's supply looking like? What's happening with home prices? And then just how can we as industry professionals be best prepared? I'm going to wrap up on. And by the way, I'm going to try to keep this under 30 minutes because I know y'all are super busy. It's also getting close to next week, holiday week. So I can't tell you how much I appreciate you all being here. And my goal is to give you this presentation. It's not branded. You can just take the graphics. You can use them on your own. And then that way you can position yourselves as industry experts as well using some of this information. And if any of you use Canva, by the way, I'm happy to just share the raw Canva presentation. That literally would make it super easy to just copy and draw from. Because, in buyer presentations and seller presentations, just like when we're doing our mortgage consultations, the more I think data that we can show people from industry experts, from economic or economists, right? The more that it makes sense just showing them the way rather than telling them. So here's what I hear a lot. I don't know about you, but in a lot of my check-in calls, I've been hearing, well, Trump said when he's in presidency that rates are going to come down to 4%. Okay, well, may I show you something? Chief economist here, many chief economists that are doing these reports really don't think that's going to happen. Per their forecasts, it's going to be more like 6%, right? So, instead of telling someone they're wrong, kind of showing them, here's some data, here's some statistics. And the biggest issue with rates is that inflation is still not quite where the Federal Reserve wants to see it. And we actually just saw this yesterday, right? The Federal Reserve lowered the interest rate by 0.25%, but the markets were not happy with that. And so it's so confusing to consumers because on the national news, they're seeing, well, wait a minute, the Fed just cut the rate by 0.25%. Why isn't my mortgage rate getting lower? Well, mortgage rates don't react hand in hand with what the federal funds rate is doing. That's just a small piece of the puzzle. And in fact, most economists are thinking we're going to keep seeing a lot of market volatility, right? Here's another quote from the mortgage reports, and that it's going to be really volatile. Rates are going to be going up and down in 2025, which is more of what we saw this year. Another quote from the Mortgage Bankers Association chief economist, that, the expectation of these federal funds rate cuts are really already baked into mortgage rates. So again, they're also predicting this like roughly in the sixes in the foreseeable future. So, it's so hard to rebut that. Well, we want to wait until mortgage rates come down. Well, the thing is, they're probably not going to come into the 4s and 5s that people are hoping for, nonetheless, the 2s or 3s, right? And if you look at, some other predictions, Fannie Mae, MBA, Wells Fargo's economists here, again, average throughout 2025 is looking like basically more of the same of what we saw, right? Because we're talking averages. Maybe the average will be down a little bit, 1/4 to 1/2%, low sixes. That would be really nice. But this screenshot here, I love, by the way, following Mortgage News Daily. In the chat or in the Q&A, anyone know about that website? It's called mortgagenewsdaily.com. Super helpful resource. It just shows national average mortgage rates compiled from a lot of different sources, Freddie Mac, MBA, FHFA, right? This is a really good resource to just track the trends. And I kind of say trends in a very loose way because look at this chart. If you're a buyer and you got pre-approved, like this time last year, the rate was around, I don't know, 6.625 maybe, and you've been looking for a house over this last year, look at where rates have gone over the last year, all the way up to 7.5, all the way down to 6.25, back up to, over 7. And actually we came down a little. And then this week again, with the news yesterday, popping back up over 7% again. So, again, the point is that we want our consumers, our buyers, our homeowners, our families to be comfortable knowing that here's how quickly things can change. And what does that mean as far as your mortgage payment? And also, if you're waiting for rates to drop, it's really not in the cards, at least from what most of the major economists are predicting. Now, nobody has a crystal ball, so everybody could be totally wrong. Nobody predicted a pandemic that would bring rates down to 2 and 3%, right? So this is, of course, all food for thought. I love this chart too, and again, we'll share this with you. This is really great when we're reviewing mortgage payments compared to different rates and different loan amounts. So let's take a peek here. So our average loan size, where I am doing business, mostly Hampshire, Franklin County, kind of Western Mass area, is right around 300,000. That's like pretty typical. House prices are around 425, median price. Well, average loan size has been pushing up more toward 350, but let's look at this math here. So say that somebody got pre-approved at 7% on a $300,000 loan. Their principal and interest payment was going to be $1,995. Okay, I'm going to make you all do some really hard math, so get ready. Back in the Q&A, if the rate does drop down to 6.5, how much money does that save somebody per month? $1,995 versus $1,896. Get those calculators out. Crunch those numbers. Because that's about what the economists are predicting. Maybe we could see on average this year is it's like we're kind of been average near 7, and maybe we'll be average near more like 6.5. So yeah, $100, right? $100 difference a month in payment. Now that can be really impactful to certain buyers. So I think sometimes it's easy for us in the real estate world, because we look at these numbers all day long, to say, oh, well, $100 a month, really, that's not a big difference. On the one hand, it's not to some people, right? So this helps them be like, oh, I'm really not worried about the rate because it's really not that big of an impact. To other people, it really is a big impact. And and maybe it matters because they can't qualify for anything more, but also more importantly, it's how comfortable they are. So So this is a really important number. If rates really do come down 0.5%, though, as far as calling our database and saying, hey, look it, yeah, rates may actually come down 0.5%. It's a great time to get back in the market. You're not going to promise them it's going to come down to 4, but look at these economic predictions are saying maybe it will come down 0.5%. That could be a difference between whether they were comfortable at, a 300 loan amount or a 320 loan amount, a 350 price versus a 370 price. That could make a difference, and that could get people pretty motivated. So what about the number of homes for sale? And I'm sure you've all seen this. Again, I know you all know these stats too, right? And again, this is all compiled information from other sources. But I just think it's really good when you're talking to home buyers and they say to you, hey, what do you think about housing supply this year? Instead of just saying, oh, I think there's going to be a little bit more houses, you can show them, hey, this is a census, Fannie Mae, MBA, NAR data here, survey done that's showing that they think there's going to be 5.2 million houses instead of 4.6, right? That's all good and useful data to be able to show people what may be going on in the market. And the number of house sales is on the rise. This I love too, because a lot of times people get really confused when the news is like saying now, oh, there's all these houses on the market. How many of you, and get the question all the time, are we going to have a housing crash? I just saw on the news that there's way more inventory this month than there was last month. Well, yeah, because we're going into a seasonal time of the market, right? Where houses sit on the market for a little bit longer. That's typical in the winter. So, you can kind of use all of this statistical data to, again, put people's minds at ease, right? That's the goal. Putting people's minds at ease, becoming their search engine so that they're not turning to Google instead of you and then getting caught in the trap of Zillow, Realtor.com, getting associated with other agents, other lenders, right? We want to keep them in our sphere. And yeah, housing crash, right? We know this. We know that there's a lot of demand and not a lot of supply, and we can be able to tell our buyers here's the number of months of supply. Here's what happened during the 2008 housing crash. And may I show you this resource? May I show you this information? And I think it can really be a useful tool to help people to understand what's going on. And home prices, back to the election, right? What's going to happen with home prices? Well, this was from NAR research showing that in the last 7 of 8 presidential elections, the median sale price of existing houses increased. So you've got sellers that are wondering what's going on or what's going to happen. Great tool to show them, to motivate them. You've got buyers, again, who are saying, well, I want to wait. Well, what happens if you wait? Buyer is most likely in the spring or next year or when rates come down or whenever they're waiting for, prices are probably just going to continue to go up. So maybe you're waiting for the rate to come down, but the price goes up, right? We've got so many awesome graphs and everything that we use to show buyers that what the cost of waiting is. And it's really eye-opening to show those numbers. Appreciation, right? Homes are probably going to continue to appreciate. All of these are basically just different versions of showing the same thing that can be used. Really impactful, how much equity people are potentially going to gain over the next 5 years. Okay, this is awesome. And you'll notice, you guys, a lot of these are from a company called Keeping Current Matters. Super easy to just follow them. They have tons of free resources and they actually do the data digging for you. So it's awesome. And you can have that again to back up what you're explaining to people. So values, right? Another great reason to reach out to your database, and especially your past database, right? Hey, it's the holidays. I'm checking in. How you doing? Hey, by the way, I just did a market analysis of your house. Do you know how much it's appreciated since I helped you buy? Great. By the way, when you're at the holiday table, Christmas dinner, New Year's, Hanukkah, whatever it is, if your friends or family are looking to buy, sell, refinance, build, do me a favor and keep my number handy, because look at how much equity you've built in your home over the past 5 years. And prices appreciate historically too, right? A lot of people worry, are we in this bubble? Well, hey, let's go back. This one's for 30 years. And this chart here is showing national average price change of in 321% over the last 30 years. So another great tool just to show about values. Now, this one, we actually pulled the data. So everyone likes to share those, what is it, from Realtor Association of Pioneer Valley, the market updates, the sales reports that come out, which is great. So we actually went back and dug into the data and looked at our local area. This is one of the data points that we pulled out in our local area in Hampshire County, how much prices have changed, right? 280 in 2018, all the way up to today's median price of 475 now. Pretty amazing. And so what is this a great rebuttal for? Well, people say, oh, I really wish I bought a house 5 years ago. Well, you know what? What's the next best time to buy a house if it wasn't 5 years ago? It's right now. And it's also a great time to sell, right? Sellers know that. Homeowners' net worth is almost 40 times greater than their renter counterparts. So, if first-time home buyers are your jam, this is a great way to motivate people too, showing them how much more net worth they'll have. And again, on the housing crash question, right? There's not foreclosures happening. This is showing how much equity homeowners have compared to the debt that they have. It's pretty amazing, this spread here. And it's not a new thing. I think that's the other thing that's so important to point out, right? Like, ignoring the most recent years, 2013, there's been this steadiness here, right? Where debt's not increasing at the same rate as property values. And that's a huge tool. I mean, another great database outreach idea is I've had a lot of conversations with people recently trying to decide how they want to help their kids and their grandkids. How do they use the equity in their house now to actually help them buy another property that their kids or their grandkids will be able to use and start off their property experience? I just saw a statistic. Actually, I meant to pop it in here, but I think it was something, I'm going to butcher it, but it was a good third, I believe, of transactions used gifted money toward down payment. Hugely significant, great reason to reach out to database and to have those conversations, because you all here on this call are excellent real estate professionals and have, right, your kids, your customers, grandkids and kids and, friends and neighbors are all calling you. So it's a great reason to keep that conversation going and continue to build that wealth through real estate. So how can we best prepare? What are our prospecting opportunities, which I've already started in on? So this is, I love looking at, I've got some trends here, some surveys that I'm going to bring up as we finish up this call here. First-time homebuyers made up 24% of the market. Multi-generational homes, right? This is a huge new category. And especially, I sent out in one of my newsletters that got a great response, I sent out the link for the housing bill that was passed, and I highlighted the new regulations around accessory units. And that prompted a ton of conversations. And, people love to actually have that link, right? That information, see what the law is. And then it made them think, well, what can I do? Does it make sense for me to keep my current house and build an accessory unit or an addition? Does it make sense for me to sell my house and look for a new one that's more suitable, right? All of this interest generates conversation. Median age of first-time homebuyers is getting older. And, that's probably no surprise given the lack of inventory too. It's hard for the younger generation, and people are staying in their houses for longer. So, and there's more cash buyers, lastly, which is great for you and not so great for me, but that's all right. So what's really cool is our area, New England, and especially, out this way, we're such a hot spot. Another stat I just saw that I got to add into this it was also from NAR, is 1 in 4 purchases, 1 in 4 transactions was a move from a big move, like one state to another. And I don't know about you all, but I have been getting more and more calls. Like just this week, yesterday, I had 2 people call, people who want to move into our area, right? There are so many things. Actually, this is a cool topic to just discuss a little bit. So since you're all probably zoned out from my PowerPoint, open up that Q&A again. And I'm curious because it looks like most of us attending here are in, many of you are out here in Western Mass with me. Some of you, it looks like, are in Boston area too, which is awesome. What do you feel like? Do you feel like there's a lot of relocation happening, whether it's across the state or like I'm talking moves that are, I don't know, greater than 25 miles, like they'd be going to a new school system, or even from one state to another. If anyone knows their stats offhand, do you think that's increasing, or do you think it's staying the same, or do you think it's decreasing? Maybe we'll keep it a simple one-liner to put in the Q&A. Increasing relocation type moves, staying the same, or decreasing? Close to everyone I talk to is relocating. All my new buyers this month. Most are coming from away, increasing for sure. Same, but still a good number. Yeah. Awesome. It's interesting. And you know what? That points back also to using all of this material. And as much as everyone hates to hear it, I promised you I'm not going to talk about social media, but being open and available, right? Open for business. Like you need people to be able to search you from out of state now because that's where they're coming in from. So, do you have good reviews? I can't tell you how many times I always, when I do my buyer consultation, I always hype up the real estate agent, right? Because I want to give all of you a lift. Oh, hey, I'm gonna make up a name. Susie's awesome. How'd you meet Susie? And more times than not, it's, oh, they had really great reviews on whatever, wherever it was, if it's somebody coming from out of the area. So, that ties in to how people are finding us and also the importance of having presence, right? So just more information on who buyers and sellers are. This was from the NAR Buyers and Sellers generational report that came out. So if you want to link to that, I'll link it. I thought it was actually linked on here, but I don't think I have it linked. So really cool presentation to dig through. It's like 130 slides, all different information here. This is a slide that I was looking for. So how did the buyer find the home they purchased, right? No surprise. They found it. They go online now. I mean, how many buyers do you talk to that are scrolling online at 3 a.m? I do it still, and I'm not planning on moving anytime soon. Real estate agent, of course, very important, still at the top. And then way less important, yard signs, friends, builders, right? All this print, newspaper, advertisement, home books, magazines. It depends on, of course, the generation. This actually I thought was so interesting. Friends, relatives, and neighbors. Look at the change between the younger generation to the older generation on using friends, relatives, and neighbors versus internet. It's almost exactly inversed here. So it's really interesting just to see how the generations have just shifted who their support, who their social network is, and how they find information. I have gone through an ambassador program with First Home IQ. First Home IQ is a national nonprofit whose mission is to educate millennials and Gen Zs, so the next generation, on finance information and to become more ready home buyers. And this was a report that was issued by First Home IQ through one of the PMI companies that we work with. And where the next gen is turning for personal finance information, though, friends and family for finance related information is still at the top. Whereas for real estate information, at least according to NAR, was internet. So I thought this was interesting, but very close second is video, and then online articles, online forums, right? Books, social media influencers. So again, being open for business and available there is so cool. And another thing that Next Gen is saying is that they're 51%, only 51% are confident in their knowledge about home buying. So a huge opportunity, right? We were talking about database opportunity is this education, just being there, being available, being the search engine. And so really, In conclusion of this market projection here for 2025, whole point is that I wanted to just have this data available for you. I'll send it out to you. I'll send you the recording. I'll send you the PowerPoint. If anybody is using Canva or wants to learn how to do it, also let me know. I'm happy to help you. That helps with the presentation. Again, in this Zoom environment and with people coming from out of state, being able to pop your screen up and the buyer says, hey, what's going on with rates? Well, do you mind if I show you? You pull up Mortgage News Daily. There it is. What's going on with property values? May I show you? It's like having this tangible information, I think is super effective. So thank you all for tuning in. Right under 30 minutes. I appreciate you all and really look forward to new business in or doing more business in 2025. It's going to be a big year. We've all made it through all the changes over the last few years, and I'm really feeling good vibes all around. So thank you all for tuning in, and you're welcome. I'm getting some thank yous in the chats. I appreciate that. Anything you need, call me, email me. I'm available over the holidays, so do not feel bad. This is my job, right? I am always working for you. Thanks, everyone.